All right, I guess we'll see who shows up. I know it's got a little bit of a lag to it. For those watching, we are going to be doing this is the first official version of Moto Albums with Brett Q. Been looking forward to this for quite some time, so we're waiting for him to jump on to the Zoom call, and then yeah, we're gonna go through some photos and see what he remembers, see what he doesn't remember, and see if we can pull some stories out of the great Brett Q. It'll also be recorded. And I just got that notification that I am live on YouTube. That's pretty exciting. Hopefully you guys come watch. That would be really, really cool. I don't usually get a ton of viewers on this, but you guys know this is a pretty new YouTube channel. So yeah, we're going to learn as we go here. Got my Ricky Carmichael permaplaque picture in the background. I've had that. Oh man, I've had that thing for a long, long time. I think I got that back in, I want to say 05, no, 06 or 07. Because actually I got that from some guy that my sister was dating. His parents used to own a Suzuki shop. And he said, "Hey, do you want this thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, you're taking a few rounds out of my sister every once in a while. So I might as well get, I might as well get something out of it." So that's one of my favorite years of Ricky, 05 on the 252 stroke, racing Supercross, the last two stroke to win an AMA Supercross championship, last two stroke period to win a championship. And now we've got Brett Q in. It's going to take a few seconds before his audio clicks in, and we might not have video right off the hop, but it does say Brett Q, so that means I know who's joining. I didn't invite anyone else, so that's probably for the best. And right around now is when I'll say recording in progress.
Oh, what's up?
What's going on, guy?
I didn't have the notifications on, and I had to get back on here, and I was like, I didn't know if we were even doing this live or if it was being recorded for later or whatever. But
I am recording it, but I just wanted to see if I'd get any views on YouTube Live. So I also did. This is getting pushed through to my YouTube channel that has like 14 followers. So yeah, maybe like a half.
1/7 of them already in here.
Exactly.
Perfect. Unless we're the two participants I see.
Oh, can you also see it? Oh, on well, no, this is the Zoom call. So yeah, there's that.
Oh, gotcha.
If I'm looking on YouTube right now, a currently grand total of one person is watching.
One person.
One person, and I think that includes me having that window open. So none right now, which is fine. Yeah, that's what it's all about. But Brett Q, welcome to Moto Albums. You are the first official episode of Moto Albums, which is it's kind of serendipitous that I do make you the first one, because you and I essentially did this 3 years ago when COVID first happened. You and I did I think it was a Zoom call, and we went through some old photos. Some of the photos that we even looked at then we're going to look at today. I was never able, I actually lost like half of that audio and most of the video from that because my laptop, this one right here, that's still from 2012 and it's terrible, lost half of that content. So we've upgraded. We actually have a desktop rather than a crappy laptop, and I'm in a house rather than an apartment. So the whole program is a lot better, and it's no longer 2020 when COVID is descending on the world.
You are living large. I love it. That's awesome. That laptop, that 2012 one, that's exactly the same year I got my laptop, and that thing is garbage.
Yeah,
it was a MacBook, and I was so proud of that thing. And it's amazing that it still works. And I guess credit to Apple for letting that happen. But that's exactly how my laptop is.
Yeah, is it covered in cool stickers like mine?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them here. Actually,
show and tell. Is this now show and tell?
Yeah, this is all I got on it. Just one.
Oh, I'm gonna send you a 95. You don't have to put it on there or anything.
Actually, there is another one. There's that one.
Air Wheelies. We know who that is.
365 Air Wheelies sticker. I don't know if you
Oh,
can see that.
what? Oh, what?
Yeah.
Not the 488?
No, sir. That's a 365. Even though I can't wheelie, I can't nose wheelie, I can't wheelie, I can't air wheelie, I can't do any of that stuff. If my friend's got to come up, it's not happening. I'll loop out.
Fair enough. Can you confirm or deny that you have ever been Ronnie Mac in a video?
I can't really. I don't really know much about that. I
Oh,
filmed a bunch of his stuff, so I actually I've seen him,
yeah, you've seen him.
but
Yeah,
I've
like
seen him
you,
live.
I'm willing to bet you guys have shared a hotel room or two.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Probably.
those are the stories for another time for
Those
sure.
are that one day Ronnie Mac should write a book. Like
Yeah,
yeah, that would be whew,
it would be kind
X
of scary, really.
it would be X-rated for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But
Yep.
all right, so we're gonna see how this works, man. As
All right,
far
let's
as
do it.
going through some photos, I'm gonna share my
Yep.
screen here, and we're gonna pop over to this screen right here. Can you see that?
I can see a big wheel. Yep, I got it now.
Boom!
Got
Oh,
it.
they even added a little
No average Joe. I
no
dig that.
average Joe. Yeah, I
Man,
was
you're making me sound way better than I am.
well. I actually misspelled it at first. I thought it was no average Jew, and I was like, that's just I'm
That's
not
even
even
worse.
sure. That's just incorrect. So
That's all.
yeah, no average Joe, man. For those who don't know, well, yeah, if you're following this show in any way, shape, or form, you know damn well who Brett Q is. He's one of the most talented guys on a dirt bike that I've met in person, honestly, just as far as bike skills on the motorcycle, because there's lots of guys who go very, very fast, but they don't necessarily have the wide range of skills that you do, whether it's the tricks and the nose wheelies and the everything else. So I'm
Well, I
you're
appreciate
you're
that.
you're already
I'm
being too
jack of all
modest, but
trades, master of none.
we can go with
I'm all
that.
right at a lot of things, but I'm not really good at anything. So
Fair enough, but I would go ahead and say that there isn't a single thing on a dirt bike that you aren't better than me at. So
I don't know. I mean, you were
we,
probably the largest person to ever ride at 80 or 85, whatever they called it. Whenever you,
yeah,
I think that you could have been a better big guy on a little bike than me.
fair enough.
Because I'm a pretty big guy on a little bike a lot of times.
Oh yeah. No, you know what? Actually, like completely off topic, but when I dated a girl that she got a KX80 when I was like, I don't know, like 20.
A bigger
And
one
like,
than you? She's a bigger girl than you?
no,
Come
no,
on,
no. Like
thought
she
she
was
was
she was
short.
tiny. She was
Oh,
tiny. But so she had a
I got excited.
KX85.
Okay.
And like, but I would take that thing for a rip every once in a while just to like clean it out.
Mhm.
And oh, was that fun, dude? Like just like throwing that thing through the gears. But
Yep.
all right. So Brett Q, no average Joe. How this is going to work for those who have, this is the first episode, so no one knows how this is going to work, not even me.
Exactly. We don't even
No,
know what
we're
we're
just
doing.
winging it. But essentially, I've put together a PowerPoint slideshow mixed with some awesome photos throughout your career, and hopefully, it just pulls out some stories. Yeah, and honestly, you and I are going to do probably 2 or 3 of these over the time of because yeah, like you have way too many stories and there's way too much to touch on in like we could be here for 2 hours. As much as some people would enjoy that, I don't want to lose anybody. So it'd probably be better for us to get 4 half-hour to 45-minute shows than 1 3-hour long show where at the end of it, I'm just like, hey, Brett, what's in this photo, man? And
Well,
you're just like,
the good news is I can't really remember a lot, so I don't really know that I'm gonna make any story long. So
okay.
that'd be good because we'll be able to get through a lot of pictures, and that's also good news because I have like 4 trillion of them, so it's fine.
Oh, for sure. Like I did my own digging for some photos, and then you
Oh
and
man,
I started chatting, and then you dumped about 50 million more onto me, and I was like, okay, well, I don't like it. Now I didn't have any photos to begin with because all of yours were gold. But we're gonna start with one that you and I have in common. This one's near and dear to my heart. This guy, Josh Gray, one of the most talented helmet painters under the sun, and also just a salty the earth person who would give you the shirt off his back even if he's not wearing one. This
definitely.
only highlights 3 of the helmets that you've done. In fact, I think these are all Bell helmets, but since then, actually, one of them's a fly lid, I think.
Well, one's
The
the
middle
very
one's a
first
fly
one.
lid.
It's a Troy Lee.
Oh, it's Troy. Fair enough.
So actually, that one on the left is a Troy Lee too. The one on the right is Warren.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about Josh Gray. Tell me a little bit of these helmets, as well as that the wristband that you're wearing in the middle photo.
Yeah, that was my that I don't know. That was about 2012. That was a minute ago. But Josh and I have been friends for a long time, since just before that, maybe 11 or 12 we met. And I had always seen a lot of his stuff. He had just kind of started painting helmets at that point. And I'd seen a lot of his stuff, and I really liked the graffiti style look that he did and all the bright colors and stuff. And my dad had always painted my helmets growing up. I didn't have not to sound like snotty or whatever, but I didn't have a stock painted helmet for a lot of years. And it was like I'd never even rode in front of anybody at that point. Like there was only probably 6 or 7 guys that rode at this spot that I grew up at, or that I started riding. And so there was really no reason to have a custom painted helmet at that point. But my dad just loved doing it, and he was a really good drawer, a good artist. Yeah. And he had an airbrush, so he always painted my helmets. And then I wore stock stuff, and my dad would always get really upset at me if I broke my visors, because then he'd have to redo it and paint me another one. And I've been known to break a few visors, but I wore a stock helmet for a little bit, and then I was like, you know what? I just saw Josh's stuff, and it was the first guy that I'd seen that painted kind of like my dad, and it just reminded me of his stuff. Just how it was bright, and it was just all over the place, kind of. And so I got a hold of Josh and wanted him to paint me a helmet. And that's actually, that very first one is the one that I have in the middle right there. That was the first helmet he did for me. And he knew that I like to take pictures, and that's supposedly my picture of my mop and my camera. And there's another picture, I think, on the other side of me doing a whip. And so a couple of things I really like to do. We were just getting to know each other at that point, and he found out that I like to do those things and just painted that helmet. I don't even really think that I told him what I wanted on that. I just told him I wanted it to be bright and look cool. And so that's what he did. But yeah, Josh and I have been friends ever since, and through all the Road to X Games stuff and trying to get there, and through everything, he's just been super, super good guy, one of my best buddies. So he's still to this day, because that helmet on the far right, that's actually the latest one that I have. I went to do best whip competition last year at Monster Jam World Finals in Florida, and that was where that helmet was painted for. He had a cool idea with what he did with it, and yeah, I really like that helmet. I still wear it a lot of times whenever I'm riding. It's a Moto 9, and they frown upon that if I wear that over the Moto 10, but I still wear it sometimes. And then the one on the left was when I worked for motorsport.com, and actually that was a helmet for when I got invited to Australia. Me and Dayton got to go over there and go ride Manjimup, which is one of the gnarliest, roughest, nastiest tracks that I've ridden, partly because I haven't really ridden Outdoor National during the races, I'm sure, because they get pretty rough and nasty as well. But the Manjimup track was sandy, and it was not where I belong. I think I got lapped about 8 times, but I was racing with Ben Townley. I shouldn't have been out there on the same track holding that guy up. There was Nick Way. There was a bunch of AJ Catanzaros out there. There was a lot of guys that were flying. I don't even think any of them won, actually. I don't even remember who it was that won. It was some Australian guy, but and I should remember that. I would if I got a little time to think about it, but I don't. So that's the helmet that Josh painted me for that. And somehow I did not ever break that visor on that helmet, and I still have all 3 of those. So I'm pretty pumped to keep all of his stuff around, and someday I'll put it up on the shelf somewhere.
That's sick, man. Yeah, I've got my one that he's done for me all painted up. He also did one for my dad, because my dad's a diehard motocross action guy. So I had him do up I believe it's a Moto 9. And I had it dressed it up as one of the Wrecking Crew helmets. So that was pretty cool. And he personalized it on the back. It's funny. Your experience with the visors is why Josh requires me to send him an extra visor with each helmet. So yeah, I guess that's you helped him learn that when it comes to painting helmets.
I probably did, but the thing is that I don't remember ever doing that. I think I might have done that one time, and I'm sure I used it, And that's probably why I don't remember it. I just tried to block it out, or I hit my head hard enough that I don't really remember breaking the visor, and I just put it on there and went with it. But yeah, he's I unfortunately had to help Josh learn the hard way, I guess. So, but it's good. He's a good friend. He's always taking good care of me. So
I love it. A couple other things I want to notice here. The Storm Lake Honda sticker on there. You are essentially teammates with one Chris Riesenberg, the one they call Checkers. So
yep,
that's
for
pretty
sure.
cool.
Yeah,
And
that's I just got to know those guys. I think when I moved up here, I dealt with Oklahoma Honda for a lot of years, and John's been super cool to me. But it doesn't really make a lot of sense to go back to Oklahoma whenever I need something. And I mean, it's a little ways over to Storm Lake also, but it's at least closer. So
fair enough. You've had a pretty interesting experience in the sport as far as like growing up where you grew up. We'll get into that a little bit later when we look at some older photos. But also like the journey to working through motorsport, going to X Games, having a video segment. Like you're not totally indifferent than me when it comes to like we grew up on motocross videos, like Revelation 199 all day long, just making sure that thing got played and played and played and played and played.
yep.
And you're a bit of a student of it as well, but at the same time, like your skill set and just your willingness to go ride and have fun with people and like with guys like Kevin Windham and Travis Pastrana, like it's been a pretty wild 10 years, man. And like you still do get out on a bike on a regular basis. I like honestly like day-to-day life now for you is more you're more on the construction side of things, are you not?
Yeah, I'm living full-time dad life slash working in the garage. Basically, I build countertops, concrete countertops a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't get to ride as much as I would like to, but I have always wanted to have kids. Like that was my one thing that I just wanted so bad, and I want to spend all the time I can with them. So in order to do that, it's not like I have a solid job where I have a money coming in every week that's the same amount basically, but at least it's what I need to make it and be able to stick with my kids until they really get into school and until they really can't be around me anymore. I want to be around them, so I'm taking full advantage of it.
Fair enough. And you're the proud papa of two now, right? There's Riley, and you have one either on the way or you've got the second one.
Yep, my little guy just turned 1, so his name is
Holy
Lane.
dude, what's
So
that?
his name is Lane.
Lane. Oh man,
Yeah.
does he have a PW yet?
No, not yet, but I'm just so worried that he's not going to be scared. He already like goes
Oh
for it.
no.
Riley rides her Stasic and she rips around pretty fast, but she was always like at that age she was so worried to climb up stuff or fall off the couch or whatever. Like she was like super timid with everything she did. But Lane, he's not worried. He just goes for it.
Yeah,
Climbs up whatever he can, jumps off whatever he can. He's only 1. He just learned how to walk and he's already jumping off stuff. So
that's the
pretty
exact
worried
same
that I'm in
dynamic
for it.
as my nieces. The oldest one is Miss Careful on everything, and then the younger of the two would like just choke slam the other one into the couch and just would not even think about twice about it.
Yep.
I love it. Well, last question I have for you before we leave Josh Gray, Shades of Gray. If you're looking to get your helmet painted, do so, especially if you have lots of time on your hands, because Josh has been known, especially with me, to have helmets for quite some time. He must have set a record with my fly helmet because he had that thing for 18 months before
Jeez.
I sought it back. And
Yeah.
he's had a couple of Fox lids of mine for the last 6 months. And yeah, I'm not going to see those until
I, I love Josh.
2024.
I love Josh, but he takes his time. But it's definitely worth it. But he
Yeah.
definitely takes his time also. He's not just full-time helmet guy either. He's got
No,
other jobs and he's got kids. He's got all this stuff. So
no kidding.
he
He's
has
running a series, so I'm surprised he has any hair left.
yeah, no doubt. Well, he's grown it out. I think that might be he's just celebrating that he has hair left because he's growing it out. It's kind of bushy. Last time I saw him, he had a mullet going on. But
I like it.
yeah,
I thought about doing the mullet for Loretta's, and then I thought to myself, this is the first big event that I'm doing for Verb, so I might want to like look somewhat presentable.
yeah.
But
Everybody at Verb clean cut, right?
oh yeah, big thing. It's honestly me and Wes, like when we both have our haircut, it's I think we're like fucking twins. But
Yeah, I think you
uh
guys do it quite a bit alike. For sure.
let's move on to the next one here. Oh, well, speaking of verb,
Yeah.
this is one of the coolest things that has ever happened on a dirt bike.
It was the
If
world's largest rocking chair.
the
I mean,
world's largest
what more could you ever ask for? That's a big ass rocking chair. Nobody's
yeah.
ever jumped off that thing with a dirt bike, except for me.
Tell me about how you even got propositioned into doing this. Um,
Um,
Obviously the bike had to have been set up for months on end trying to figure this out.
yeah, a lot of
take me
testing.
through this situation and what got you to where to the point where the picture on the side when you are that's full takeoff, man.
Yeah, it was man, it was a long, hard road, honestly. It was a lot of testing and a lot of training, and it was just serious, more so than people think. Like it wasn't just a it looks small, but that wasn't very small. That was the world's largest rocking chair. It was big. And
The landing ramp's not very steep.
no, it's not very steep at all. And it was made out of mud, and it was covered by, or there was hay bales covered in dirt, as you
Yeah.
can tell there. Those are a couple of round bales. So it was not the ideal thing to land on. But if I would have made it big, it would just look like a sissy jump. So I couldn't have been doing that.
Yeah.
And you can't really tell there. Like it looks like it, oh, you just fall off and land on that. It was like 25 or 30 feet out to a good spot from where I had to jump, like straight up length. And I mean, I clicked in second gear and I just gave her a little blip to get off that thing. It wasn't just like I fell off. So I don't know. It was cool though. But
So yeah, go ahead.
now you go for it. What do you got?
I was gonna say like the first thing that I think of with something like this is Robbie Madison dropping in
Oh,
Vegas.
yeah.
Like this is basically the same thing, although this is a
Yeah.
rocking chair. Like and his building wasn't the world's biggest anything. This is the
No,
world's
not at
biggest
all.
rocking chair. And
His was just like the one in Vegas was like it was a makeshift, it was like a wannabe Arc de Trump or whatever they call that. That wasn't even the real deal.
yeah, that
So
was
I
the
mean,
miniature version of what I'm gonna see in France in about a month's time.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, I FaceTimed Robbie whenever I was at the bottom of this thing earlier in the day. I don't know if you knew this, but I FaceTimed him. It was probably like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And he's laying in bed with like something big and like a big ice pack or a big thing on his back. And he like had no shirt on. He could barely even move. And I was like, what what happened? He was like, I jumped off something like that. And he's like, well, it wasn't quite as big as that, but still, I jumped off something like that. And I was like, oh, that's promising. It's good to hear right before I do this. So yeah, it was he gave me some advice and some pointers, and I accidentally did it right. So it was perfect.
Perfect. Was that when he dropped like he was doing like kind of like a real moto segment where he ended up dropping into like this concrete culvert thing and like just like absolutely tacoed a wheel?
I don't know, but that wouldn't surprise me really.
Yeah.
He's jumped off a lot of things that weren't very smart. A
No,
lot of things that are probably maybe bigger than that rocking chair, but he still hasn't
perhaps.
jumped off of that rocking chair because that's the world's biggest, and I'm the only person that's ever jumped off that. So
Um, Two questions I have for you. First of all, this was at Lincoln Trail, or just down the street, I guess, from. So
yeah,
that event must have been awesome. The need for handguards in this situation, as well as do you always have your bars rolled so far back, or does it just look that way because of the angle of the camera?
yeah, I think it's just the angle of the camera. The pictures are deceiving because I I'm pretty sure I had that the camera like out from the front of my like underneath the visor. It
Oh,
had a
okay.
little thing that it hung on, and it actually is out quite a ways, and it's a 360. So you know how that kind of
Yeah.
makes everything a little distorted. So I try to run them exactly parallel with my forks, but they are in um, the back
Wow.
mount
Yeah.
spot. But I got a different or new bike the other day, and I tried to put them forward for the first time, and I thought that it'd be kind of weird because I was sitting on the stand. I'm like, this is jacked up feeling. But this is my little girl. This is Riley.
Oh, Riley.
Say hi.
We thought we were going to do this after your bedtime, but clearly that has not transpired.
No, I'm not having them. But I tried to put him in the forward spot, and I think I'm gonna keep him there. So
Okay.
anyways, handguards also. Yeah, I don't really know what I was thinking there. I'm pretty sure that Talon at Acherubies,
I was gonna say, is
it,
that just an
it,
Acherubies plug?
yeah, it was his fault, I think. Not really sure, but I haven't ran handguards for a long time, or like I haven't chose to run handguards in a long time. I used to run them all the time just because Travis did,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be cool as Travis, you know. But really, there's nothing as cool as the original. I know that I say this, of course, but the
Yes.
ones that Travis ran on his, you know exactly what I'm talking
Yep,
about. The ones that,
absolutely. I was
yeah,
just
Cherokee
about to
one.
say,
But
Acherubies would do themselves a favor by reproducing those, even
yeah,
just in yellow, and they would
mhm,
get sold out immediately.
yeah. But you know the style I'm talking about. Travis in 2000 outdoors. He
Yep.
that style. I don't even remember
Yeah,
what they called them. Like the flag handguards, maybe.
I
Is
think
that
they were
right?
the flag. Yeah, if not,
Something
honestly,
like
they
that.
did. They went through a bunch of iterations in a row there. Travis always only ran those, no matter what they did. He even ran them in 2005. The
Hmm.
absolute ugliest ones, and I love Talon at Acherubies. Those are like they make awesome stuff. The ones they actually have now aren't too bad. The I don't know what they're called, but the ones with like the fins in them. Not these, but the ones that came before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But the ones that James used to run whenever he would run like handguards on his cowies, the really like
Yeah.
round looking ones, those were ugly as sin.
Yeah. I'm not a
Those were
fan.
bad.
Look like
Um,
look like bark busters.
yeah, they did. They kind of they had the outline of Barkbusters, even though they weren't Barkbusters.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
this was awesome. Are you gonna jump off anything else that's big soon?
maybe you never know. Honestly, this all started because I did a camp at a camp with AJ Catanzaro, Jay Solon, and a few guys there at Lincoln Trail. And it was probably the year before that, maybe 2 years. And we went to, I'm not trying to tell any guys, but we went to get ice cream,
Oh,
and it's right below the world's largest mailbox. And so we went up in the mailbox, and we were eating. And I was like, how cool would it be to jump out of this thing? It would be so sick if you could build like a big landing and have a little kicker right here and just jump up. And how cool of a picture would it be if you're just like seat bouncing, throwing a little flat whip, and then jumping down? And I was like, yeah, it'd be cool, whatever. And we talked about it, and then we forgot about it. And we went back and told Drew at Lincoln Trail, we were like, hey, well, that would be so sick if we could jump off that mailbox, or out of that mailbox. And he was like, yeah, that would be cool, huh? And then nothing ever came out of it. Like we didn't even think about it. And then about a year later, he called me out of nowhere. He's like, hey, you still want to jump out of that mailbox? I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go. And he's like, all right, I'll see what I can do. I'll call you back. And then he called the people at the town, and they were going through stuff. And he was like, well, mailbox may be a no go, but do you want to jump out of that rocking chair? And I had never even seen it before. I didn't even know there was a world's largest rocking chair there. And I was like, yep, let's go. And so he said, all right, I'll set it up. And he said, come down and look at it here in a couple weeks. He's like, I'll send you a picture, but come look at it. I was like, all right, sweet. And so went down and checked it out and looked good and ended up doing it. So it was not particularly the plan. My little girl just took a whole bag or a box of Oreos downstairs. So,
nice.
and now she's giggling about it. She's
Oh,
stealing my Oreos. Can't be having that. She's still laughing.
awesome.
Um, yeah, so I taught her well.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah.
there's a couple more things that I really think would be cool. There's the world's largest golf tee, and I really wanted to do that, like do it on off on the golf tee until I figured out how wide it was at the top. It's only
It's like
like
the length of a dirt bike.
yeah, it's only like 3 feet wide at the top, and I'm like, I don't think Chad Reed could hit that. So that was off the list. And there's a couple more ideas that I think would be cool, but I don't really know. The people in the town are definitely down for it. They're cool with whatever we want to do. So just got to come up with a new idea and make it happen.
I love it. Well, yeah, I'm glad to hear the how that all came together. Those are exactly the stories that Moto Albums is going to try to pull out of our guests. Let's go straight into some of my favorite photos of you. And not only the fact that you wore some of the coolest sets from No Fear, but you also had those Orion helmets with the movable chin guard and all that. I can't tell, like, based on what I'm looking at, whether or not I've cut your head off on that top one, but take me through these 4 photos and like where you're at. I think it's the same bike in most of them, except for one of them's a 125. I think. Yeah. Yeah. First of all, why 366? Was that just was that a leap year?
No, not quite. That was my first trip to World Minis actually, and that was when I got that number. That top left picture. I went to World Minis in 2000, and I went to race 125 beginner class. And I'd been running like number 4, I think it was, or number 2. Like I always wanted a big, like a single digit number, because One Industries made those like fat numbers, and that's what I ran for a long time. And plus, you didn't have to worry about like getting them straight. You didn't have to worry about lining them up, because we didn't have preprint numbers then. Right. So we just had to line them up and make them look cool. So I went to Vegas, and I got there and I had number 4, and they were like, "You can't really run that here, because NMA doesn't let you do that." And they were like, "What number do you want?" And I was like, "I don't care, just give me a number." And so they gave me 366. So randomly, I don't know why, I don't know how I got that, but I got 366. And then actually the next year, it's hold on, let me finish that. I'll talk about that later. But
yeah,
that was the first year at World Minis, and I was racing beginner, and I was racing with Billy Laninovich's brother. That's the only person I really know.
You got the number 2 on the helmet. Dad must have painted that on there for you.
Yeah, all 3 of those helmets actually my dad painted. He used to paint Kenny Bartram's helmets, Guy Cooper's helmets. That helmet, or that picture I seen yesterday of me as a young guy wearing a helmet, that's one of Guy's helmets that my dad painted.
Oh, no way.
Sorry, I didn't fill you in on any of those stories, but no. I just kind of on a spree, just sending random pictures. But yeah, I had the Alpine Star Vector boots, the No Fear Vintage gear that Travis wore on Daytona in. But yeah, I rode 125 beginner class that year, and I remember going to the gate. Like I had only raced 2 times, I think, at this point in my life. I raced. Maybe this is actually my second race. I think this is my second race. My very first race, though, was at a local arena cross at a track my dad built. I had ridden it a bunch for like getting the track tested and all that stuff. Like, so I kind of was comfortable on the track that I raced. But I raced with like 3 or 4 of my buddies that I'd grown up riding with. That's like the only people I'd ever ridden with. I raced with those guys. So I went there, raced with them, and then the very next race I did was with a full gate of 125 beginners at World Mini on a starting gate that was concrete, and I was terrified. I was so scared. I remember being on the bike, like my dad made me start all the way outside, just that way I would just be able to get away from everybody, not really knowing that that's the place that everybody like piled into. But I didn't really get to the first turn in the amount of time I needed to get hit, so I didn't really have to worry about that. But I was just terrified of this race. So I pretty much was on the gate, and I was about to throw up, and I really wanted to go switch gear and let my dad ride for me, and I wanted to be his mechanic. But I didn't. He didn't let me. So I let everybody go, and I was in last place. And I came back to like 10th, even though I fell like 3 times, I think. But I got 10th, and I was like, man, I should have started with everybody. So that's pretty much how the whole weekend went, or the whole week. I was terrified of start, and I came back and did all right. And then I don't remember where I was going with that one, but
I do notice those handguards we were talking about. Yep, those are them right there, and also the ones that I was bagging on are also on your other bike. The 2 bottom photos, those are the blue and white version of the ones that James rode. Those were like they were like, you can totally tell what year it is based on what those things were. I think that's 03 or 02. Exactly. They were what they were. But yeah, keep going. You had great style back in the day. Like just like the cosmetics of moto you were on top of. The only thing that I'll give you shit on any of these photos was the Renthal chain wheels sticker on the forks. That might not have been your best look. And I'm also going to notice some Marshall's suspension. And then, of
Yeah.
course, is Marshall Plum, who is from that area. He's actually Canadian. He played junior hockey up here in Canada, and he, of course, was Guy Cooper's mechanic when he won his one and only AMA national title.
Yes, he was indeed. And I can't believe that you are bagging on me for the Renthal sticker and not the Hanson's energy drink sticker on the bottom.
But that's where the Hanson's energy drink sticker was on like McGrath and whoever else.
But
like
still,
the chain wheel sticker goes on the
drink.
back swing arm. You take your
Yeah,
Yamaha stickers off.
That didn't go on those Yamaha stickers were such a pain to get off.
I know.
You didn't take those things off. Those were a mess.
I do like the One Industries the Fender Archers though. Those are mint.
Yeah, that was what the cool kids did. Yeah. But also another thing I'll add on the first one on the top left, those numbers were the straightest numbers that I could have ever imagined being on my bike that weren't pre-printed. Mm-hmm. And every time we would do something like that, we would put the clear over them. Like we put the clear over the whole thing just to protect it and so it wouldn't scratch up.
Or you blow them off with the pressure washer.
Yep. And also over the fenders, I would put clear over like the whole thing that I could get it over. And then as soon as I crash or scratch it up or I wanted to re-sticker it and do different stickers, I would just take the clear off and I just wouldn't have to get a new fender, like a brand new fender under there. Yeah. Those were the days, man.
For sure. These were good times. And yeah, those Vector boots from Alpine Star, that was essentially the first version of the Tech 10. The Tech 10 came out after that. From what I remember, like the reviews on the Vectors, that they didn't stay together very well. Like they weren't a durable boot, but they were lighter and they were a little bit more flexible, and they had some more venting in them. They were pretty neat. They were I think those were a little bit of ahead of their time. Yes, no?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I liked them. I had a bunch of them.
Is that an HRP chest protector as well?
Yeah, because Travis wore them. I told you that. You should know that by now.
Yeah, it's HRP.
I think it was even the yellow shoulder guards too. The shoulder pad.
He had yellow. He also had chrome, but he ran yellow as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And the kicker, this is straight out of Revelation 199. Like this is.
It's a Kenny and Travis mix.
Yeah, it is. This is Kenny Bartram.
If Travis go to Yamaha, that's what he would look like.
You're not wrong. Complete with spy goggles, which at the time were made by Scott, by the way.
Were they really?
Yeah,
I never knew.
Yeah. If you look back at old pictures of the 1 year, like Pro Circuit has been Scott for every year aside from I think it was 2000. They are wearing spy goggles, but the frames are Scott, and really? Scott spy goggles were originally made by Scott.
Wasn't it? That was the year that Nathan Ramsey wrote for him, right?
That's correct.
I feel like I remember that. Nathan Ramsey, maybe Nick Way too.
Nick Way, Shea Bentley's on that team. Yeah. Who else? Talon Volan, of all people, also on that team. Yeah.
How do we forget?
Who's number 299 there? Who's got bigger muscles than you do? In honestly, another iconic chess pro.
Yeah, that was my buddy Jason Brazil. He was a good friend of MINE. Sorry, I don't know if are you aware of that game?
No.
So Travis and his buddies, you can't say mine. If you do, you have to do 20 push-ups, and you can spell it. You can say my one. You can any of that, anything, but don't say the word. It's you're being. It's just you just don't say it.
All right.
You're self-centered if you say it. It's like it's all about you, you know.
I can get on with that. I will adhere to those rules going forward.
Yeah, so get out and do some push-ups if you start saying it. Anyway, so ignore it if I say my one at any point or MINE or if I just dance around that one, because I am the one guy that has to do 1 million push-ups every time I go around them, and I hate it. I'm tired of it, and I don't ever want to do a push-up again. It happens all the time.
Perfect.
Anyways, that's my friend Jason. He was his 34, I think, in that picture. And
really?
I was only like 16, I think.
I was gonna say you do not look half of his age. He looks like he's in his mid-20s. He definitely looks older than you, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he started really racing around the same time as me, maybe a little bit sooner. but he was always a little bit faster than me, except at that track right there at Cooperland. I don't think he ever beat me at Cooperland. And that was like, that place is my jam. I love that track. That was like my favorite track ever. And it always ate at him so bad that he could never beat me there. But that was where that was at. And yeah, we always had so much fun together though. He still talk to him sometimes, but he doesn't ride anymore, but he's a super good friend. And yeah, I don't really know anywhere else that you guys would have related him to, but he was around at the early 2000 time. But he kind of stopped riding right after the 4-strokes started getting big. He just kind of got over it. That was a 2-stroke that he had there. And once they started riding 450s a bunch, he was kind of getting out of it. I don't really know if that was anything to do with it or not, but yeah, he's a super good guy though.
I also noticed the tag metal bars. Of course, a crossbarless bar. Is that a Travis Pro Taper thing? You're following in footsteps. And what's with the front brake that's just like up in the air, a la Shea Bentley?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I was
you're up there. You're like those are in the air.
I was definitely going to say something about that a little bit ago, and I forgot. But I don't even know why I used handguards really, because those brakes were up and the clutch was up so far that I don't even know if they protected my hands. Those handguards did, but
certainly not.
I don't know. I just thought that was the place they needed to be, and as I've grown older and gotten a little smarter and wiser, I've realized that they don't need to be there. But there was a lot of years there where I kind of got into that habit where and my dad always made a big deal out of it, I think, and I always got attention for it. Not that that's really a good or bad thing, but people would always be like, "Oh yeah, look how high Brett runs his levers. Look how high he does it." And I was like, "Oh well, I'll run them higher than that. Watch." But I don't really know. But I know that Kenny ran tag bars for a lot of years, and I don't know. I kind of liked it because it was different, and I liked the way they looked, the way they worked, and that I kind of started actually liking those Pro Taper style bars whenever my dad worked for Guy Cooper for a while. Like he built a bunch of stuff where his shops are at, and he always rode with him and stuff, but he poured a bunch of concrete for him, and he would always end up over there doing different things. And Guy was a big Pro Taper rider, and he would always come home. It seemed like every 2 days or every week. I don't know if it's because he crashed all the time or what, but he would come home with new bars that Guy gave him, and they would be the ones with the no crossbar and the pink pad and all that stuff. And he was always put them up there and in the garage, and I just thought that was so cool because I was maybe a bigger Guy fan than I was Travis or Kenny, but love Guy.
And so, Guy Cooper rode, and I think he even raced nationals after or just like right around this time, racing a KTM 520. Were you around him during?
Oh yeah, heck yeah. That was like that was after that we got to know him pretty well. He was kind of I think it was like maybe late 80s or early 90s whenever my dad started riding with him. It was before he was done racing Supercross, actually.
Okay.
I think he was done racing Supercross in '93, but yeah, before that was when my dad went to Belgium with him actually as his mechanic, and just a few things like that. But he came back in, I think it was 2000 at 40 years old, on a KTM 540. It was not just a 520.
I think it was 02 because if you watch. I think it's 02 because if you watch the first Great Outdoors, he's ripping whole shots like no tomorrow on it's number 540.
Yep, that's why it was number 540 also, because it was a 540.
Yeah, perfect.
But
last thing I'm gonna say,
he got every whole shot. He did really good until he put his shoulder on backwards about red bud time.
Yep,
but
that's
he actually scored points, I think, at just about every one. He did good. He was pretty good.
Last thing I'm going to mention on this section of photos is I like the commitment to a very curved hat. Like that is so 2003. It fucking hurts, bro.
Yeah, well, that's another No Fear hat. That's pretty solid choice. I mean, I don't really know how people get away with flat bills, running them straight
No.
and forward. I can run a flat bill if it's turn around backwards and it's all right, but my head's just not the right shape, I guess, for a
No,
flat bill. Yeah, your hat's pretty curved. Come on.
yeah. Oh, I always run a decent curve. These are just flex fit hats, right? So they're always curved a certain way. All right.
Dude, I would remember putting baseballs underneath the bill of my hat and
With an elastic band.
Rubber band. Yeah, rubber banding around them. Yeah. And actually that last picture, now we're talking about a guy, but that was at his house. That one in the green gear on that last
Oh, okay.
one
This is at
the
Cooperland there.
No, that was at his house.
Oh, that's his house. Okay.
Yeah, Cooperland was his track. That was like a few miles down the street.
Okay.
But he only owned that for a little bit, and then he sold it to a guy from Indiana, and then he sold it to another guy from Wisconsin. So it wasn't guy's track for a long, long time, but it was just always called Cooperland.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, that was at his house.
I like it. I also respect the commitment to white boots and the amount of cleaning materials needed to keep them white.
Dude, just a little simple green, never hurt nobody.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. You just wash them as soon as you get back, and they are always fine. I had a pair of boots for like 8 years. I'd wear them all the time, and they always stayed white. Here's spinning the clocks way back, and this is and Brett, this is why I said we weren't going to do a ton of photos, or that we could do like 10 of these, because we are damn near we're 50 minutes into this, and we're on slide 4. So yeah.
And I don't know if can you even see me? I don't even really know if I'm pointing in the right direction or
not. Yeah, no, I can see you, no problem. I believe if I'm not mistaken, like when this gets recorded, you'll be like a very small square in the corner. Yeah, so we got Guy Cooper holding you up. You look upset about it. And then I think it's the same day with JMB, that is Jean-Michel Bale. And then you're wearing one of Cooper's helmets in the middle one. So yeah, I just kind of gave it away, but take me through the photos.
Yeah, well, that bottom picture was, like you said, my dad painted his helmets for a long time. A lot of them, not all of them, but he painted a bunch of his helmets, and I always thought it was cool. But the funny thing is about that picture is I was 4, I think, and that helmet fit me pretty good. Like, Guy's pretty small, and it's amazing how well that helmet fits me, honestly. You wouldn't even really think about that unless I said it, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, I don't really know much more about that picture, but my dad was about to send that off for Supercross or for something that Guy was wearing it for. Those other 2 pictures, though, those were the same day, and I remember that day really well. It was right after the Oklahoma City Supercross, I believe it was in probably 1990. I was 4 years old, and Jean-Michel Bale was super cool. Like, I remember him being just a super good guy he just gave me the time of day, you know, and that was the cool thing for me back then. Like, he just got down there and talked to me, kind of like he's showing the picture. Unlike you hear about it, most of the French guys, you hear the French aren't very nice, but everyone I've ever talked to, all Marvin Musquin, Jean-Michel Bale, like all these guys have been super cool to me anyway. So I don't have anything bad to say about them.
I think it's hit or miss. I think you can find rude people everywhere, all over the world, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But Jean-Michel Bale was a super nice guy, and he got down and took a picture with me, and that's my sister standing next to me. And I remember that being really cool. And Jeff Stanton was there that day, and Ezra Lusk, actually. That was right after he started riding pro, I believe, or right before he started riding pro. That was kind of cool. They were just always like, there was a big awe about him that day. I remember. And then Guy was there too, obviously, but this was at the 500 right down the street also from Guy's house. And I had known Guy a bunch at this point. Like, I'd known Guy for a long time already, whenever this was taken. And I remember that he thought it'd be kind of funny to pick me up and take a picture of me, because they're like, "Oh, Brett wants to take a picture with you." And it's crazy that I remember this as well as I do. But I remember, like, there was a big circle around the box van. That was his box van and Bale's box van and all that around the pits where they were parked at that day. And that's whenever they didn't take a semi to the races. You know, they took a box van, and a lot of the guys drove.
Yeah.
So they just didn't really have I mean, they would try to find somewhere to ride during the week a lot of times. Wasn't anywhere anything like now where it's like, oh, fly back to California for 6 days before I fly back for the next race or whatever. It was, you just got to make do with what you got. You got a box van, got some parts and bikes, and got to ride them and get some time in. So they went up to guys and they stayed for a week. But there was a big circle of people around the back of this box van, and I remember guy just being like, "Come on, Brad, come on!" And he was like chasing after me, and I remember running around, and all I remember seeing was people's feet. Like I was looking straight down, and I was so short, that it wasn't just like I was looking up and looking at their faces, but I just remember running around and seeing feet, and seeing going this way and seeing feet, and this way and seeing feet, and I couldn't get out. It was a circle, and I was trapped, and I didn't know what to do, and I was like panicking. And it wasn't that I was scared of Guy at all. Like I loved Guy. I was a big fan. And that was partly why I was so scared. I was like, I'm just so embarrassed. He's gonna pick me up. And he picked me up, and I started crying. And I was actually maybe about to bust into more tears at this point, but
it looks
that
like you're
was
on the verge there. Yeah, you don't
yeah,
seem nearly as calm as you do
no,
in the picture with JMB. Like,
no, not at all. I was just about to cry a little more, I feel like, but I don't think that I really got into crying as much as you would imagine from that face, but it was still probably enough to be embarrassed. I mean, I didn't want to cry in front of Guy Cooper, and all the people around. I remember thought it was so funny, but of course they did. I would be the same way if I was doing that and around that now. But
do you think you'd cry if Guy tried to pick you up now?
I think Guy would probably cry if he tried to pick me up now. I don't think that. I think I'm a little heavier than he is and a little bit taller. He's maybe
Yeah,
about 5'7" and 120 pounds soaking wet. I don't know if he could pick me up.
you guys
So
should try to like somehow recreate this photo. Like you wouldn't it could be done pretty easily because you could be like sitting doing it, and like
yeah.
because you wouldn't
Uh,
actually have to be lifting you, but I think if you
oh my
actually wait,
god.
no, he has you like those are your legs.
Yeah, those are my legs.
So
He,
he'd have to scoop you up.
I think Guy would be the one crying in this photo.
Oh
I'm
my,
pretty sure
yeah,
it wouldn't be me. But I could probably sit down and he could then like cradle my legs
yeah,
and it might get weird, but it'd be all right, I guguess. It'd be fun.
yeah. Like, hey, no one else on the internet would understand what it is, but at least I'd get a laugh out of it.
Yeah, yeah. You have
Uh,
to pick stitch it,
100%. Yeah, get that pick stitch going. That awesome. Well, I apologize to your sister for cropping that out, but that's how I got the picture. So I think that's on
Yeah.
you.
I'm pretty sure that she might have been cropped out in the one that I have too.
Okay.
Maybe they just took a picture of us. I don't know. She was too tall.
Perhaps.
I don't know. She deserved
Uh,
it.
let's move on to another absolute legend. Got a chance to talk to this guy for 2 or 3 hours when the rains came to Loretta's this year. My first year at Loretta's, of course, it rains 4 days straight.
Yep.
But this must have been pretty cool for you to like basically like show out, do your thing, and ride with a guy who, at one point, like and this is an absolute legend of motocross, Kevin Windham.
Yeah.
Like he for his entire career, he was like the picture of what textbook style and technique was, and he's just an awesome guy to be around. I think these pictures are from the same day because you're wearing the same helmet, same goggles in both, or at least it's
Yep.
at least the same weekend. Take me through these a little bit. This has got to be pretty near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, this was the first day that ever got to meet and ride with Kevin. I was so nervous. Um, our buddy Chris Blankenship, Short is what they call him. He was the Dirtworks guy that
Yeah,
he was good friends with Kevin, and he passed away. But before that, he was the one that got me introduced to Kevin and got me to come out and ride with them. They were out there redoing his track for, I don't even remember why they were redoing it. He wasn't training at this time, and he wasn't going to go racing, I don't believe, the next year. This is in 2013, and I think he just retired
yeah. I
in
think 12 was his last
2012.
year.
Yeah, I was actually at that race whenever he hung it up and he decided he wasn't going to do it anymore. But I was always a big fan, like I loved his style. I just was a fan of him as a person on and off the bike. And I never thought I'd get to ride with him. I was so excited. Always was a guy I wanted to ride with and looked forward to, but never really thought I'd have the chance. And then short, I was doing the Road to X Games thing. I was trying to get into that. And yeah, that was why he took me down there, or got me to come down there and ride. They were redoing his track, like I said. And so it was a hot day. It was in the middle of summer in Mississippi. And if you've never been to Mississippi in the middle of the summer, you don't want to, because it is so hot. It was a miserable oven down there. And I remember I got there pretty early, because you said that obviously you want to ride early as possible. So me and Dayton, the guy that's doing the video there, we got there and we were down there for a little bit, and I was kind of learning the track and just riding. And then I was just so nervous, I was like terrified of when Kevin would show up and just how it would all go down. And I remember, well, there's actually a video, the Road to X Games video, but Kevin showed up. He lives right there by his track, and he rode in and he was watching me, and we watched me do this whip, and I didn't even know he's there yet. And I was like, it's a good thing I didn't, because I probably would have just crashed or made myself
not brought it back.
Yeah, exactly. But I tossed a little whip, and then I saw him over there, and I remember going over there and introducing myself and getting to talk to him for a second. I was just like in awe. And it turns out like every time, every jump I would whip it on out of his place, he whipped it the other way. And it was so cool that we could cross like we did, and the way we worked together riding, it was all time. I'm sure you could do that with everybody and kind of work around whatever kind of level of beginner rider was out there, or whoever it was. I think you could do that with anybody, but it was just amazing to ride with him, and it was the coolest dream come true, really. And I remember we didn't ride for very long. Like, we filmed for a little bit, and he was like, all right, let's go get in the swimming pool. So we went down to his house and we went and got in the pool, and he got a Malibu and Coke, and we talked a little bit and filmed some more. And it was just a day that I'll never forget. So it's a lot of fun, and I didn't even crash. So I was happy about that.
Absolutely.
That's
awesome.
Same jump though, the jump on the left of the screen.
Yep.
That was in 2013. And then it was 2000, I don't know, it was a few years later that I'd ridden with him a bunch by then, gone and stayed with them, like knew him pretty well. But we were doing another video that was, I'd got him, one of the motorsport team's mechanics had a CR250, and he was going to ride that. And then I got a Service CR500, and I was going to ride that. And on that same jump, Kevin Windham's life almost ended, because I crashed, and he almost ended up getting taken out by my CR500. It would have been such a horrible crash, but I'm so glad it missed him. That's really the only thing I can think about. Anytime I see anything from that day of the 500 shoot, I think about how I almost killed Kevin. So that's the same jump, though.
You would have gone from like a fan favorite to the everlasting villain of the motocross industry for killing one of maybe the fans' most beloved sons. Whenever I see this, like this version of bike, I always think of how ugly that header pipe was on the Hondas. That was like 150 feet long. Like, they kind of came out the one side, down all the way across the front and back. Like,
yeah, but at least they got to shorten the can on that because of that.
That's true.
The can didn't have to stick out there like a cowie, so can't be having that.
Yeah, you can't beg on that. But yeah, that was not like the front of that motorcycle was not my favorite iteration of the CRF 450.
No, it wasn't a Rock favorite either. Rocks tended to just smoke that thing and fold it up.
Lots of surface area for that to go sideways. Yeah, and then I think you guys also did some pond skimming the next time you guys went out there. Yes.
I don't think it was the next time, but it was a few years later. I did that a few times with Kevin, and I never would have thought I would do that either. But luckily, the first time I did was on his bike, so I wasn't too scared. I was still pretty scared, but less than I would have been if it would have been my bike.
Is it easier than it looks? I don't know. Like, obviously, like when you just gotta go for it, hold it wide open, and hope that you don't cartwheel. But like, what's the process of like regaining back to the ground? Like, that's gotta feel weird.
Well, it's really got to be the right pond, because if it has like any sort of bank on it that where it can kick you, then you're fucked. Kind of ugly. But Kevin has a pretty, or Kevin's parents live down there. Actually, it's like just next door to his house, but um, they have a perfect pond for it, and the pond is actually huge, as you could tell in some of the videos. There was one where he made it across and then he got going the other way, and I don't even know what he was thinking. He had to have known he was going to sink this bike because there was nowhere he was going to come out. But he went out for a long ways. But there's a perfect little finger that sticks out of that pond that is just like ideal for pond skimming. Just the entrance and the exit to it. It's if you drop in too much from the side, it'll get you all sketchy and it's not ideal. And coming out the same way. But that's kind of why usually if you see some at the sand dunes, if you'll see a lake or a pond or area of water, that's usually one of the best ones to do, just because
So
it's usually
gradual.
not. Yeah, it's so gradual coming into it and out of it. So it just takes the right pond, but it's a pretty scary deal. And I'm glad I've never found another pond since then that has been as doable, because I probably would have ended up trying it. But
Yeah. And then you wouldn't have your knees working as well as they are now.
they don't work very well, actually, because I got to get my PCL fixed now. So I just did it the other day.
What?
Yeah, not good. And it was on the same knee I just got fixed last year at this time.
Yeah,
But
when I saw you at Motocross the Nations, you had just gotten worked on. You were hobbling around.
yeah, that was the first surgery too. And then I had to get the ACL actually fixed. That was the surgery to fix the holes from the old ACLs in my bones. Then they had to go back in December and fix my ACL. Now they got to fix my PCL. But the good news is I got ACLs and PCLs on both sides, as you do too. But that's the only one that I hadn't messed up was that PCL. So now I'm 4 for 4. So we're looking good.
Nice. Yep. Well, everything gets swapped out eventually in your knees.
Sure.
A lot of cool things going on in this photo, not just Travis Pastrana back when he was on Suzuki's. Also the 365 gear. This is something that unfortunately kind of like went by the way of the dodo bird, but this was kind of a cool project that you had going on with, I guess this was a motorsport thing back in the day, or what was the like the genesis of the 365 stuff?
No, that was actually me and Dayton, the guy
Okay.
that did the video stuff. And Chris Crossland, the guy who did the
Yes.
we kind of went in together on it, and that was just something that we were working to try. This was actually the very first set of it we had. It was the first sample set, or of the stuff we sold, I guess I should say. The very first set, I don't know if we have a picture of it, and I could find you one, but Colt Nichols actually wore the first 365 got the gear.
I remember that. He was
Yeah,
Crossland that year
yep, he rode. That was his rookie year of Supercross.
when he tore his
So,
knee up.
yep, that was probably like 5 rounds in, I think. But
Yeah.
the very first gear that we got of that, I got it, or me and Dayton got it. We lived together at the time, and it was like, those pajamas that are the one piece Travis Pastrana pajamas that
Yes.
the kids wore for a long time. That's exactly what it was like. And we looked at each other. We're like, is this real life right now? Like, Colt's got to wear this stuff coming up. We can't let him wear this stuff. And so we saved the jersey from it because the jersey was fine. But then the pants, we had to figure something else out because there was no way we were getting a pair of pants before Dallas. And so we got a pair of Troy Lee pants. And my mom was in the hotel room the night before, taking off the logos and sewing on a Ride 365 logo for Colt Nichols pants. And I think he had like 2 or 3 pairs of pants that he got to wear for the first, it was like practice. It was like all his gear. That's all he had was these 3 pairs of pants and like 3 jerseys or 2 jerseys that he got to wear for all these races and all the practice, like everything he was doing. He had to wear this stuff. And I felt so bad for Colt, but he was such a good sport about it. He's a super good kid, or super good guy, I guess. He's not a kid anymore, but I've known him for so long that he just seems like a little kid to me. But yeah, that was the first set of the stuff that we actually had for sale was right here. And I got it right before we went to Travis's, and it was a perfect time to show the world what we were going to do. So I almost killed myself in it a couple times. And one time was being on that ramp right behind us. And yeah, it's a fun trip.
So tell me about this day. Travis has some weird stuff attached to his helmet. Not entirely sure why. But and yeah, like this is one of, I can only imagine 100 RM 250s that he's ridden over the years. This one looks a little bit more worse for wear than any of the others. No bar pad on it, which I think is pretty gutsy, but that's because of his MO. What was going on here? Like, not too many pictures of Travis in TLD pants.
No, there's actually quite a bit going on here, and probably more than I'll even think of. But all that foam taped to his helmet was actually because right behind there, that's the jump that Josh Sheehan did the triple backflip on.
Right.
And there was actually another level of ramp on top of that whenever he did that. But that ramp was still, I think it was like 37 feet tall. I think that's what they said. But this jump was huge, like all the way up to the airbag was giant. And that's what's up there. It's not a landing at this point, it's an airbag.
Okay.
And Travis, every time he would jump and try to do something big on the airbag and like slap his head or like slap his body down, he would knock himself out. And that's why the foam is there. So he just didn't want to get knocked out anymore. But he got knocked out so many times. Whenever him and Josh were working on that triple, he kept trying it too. And he just knocked himself silly so many times that he said that, all right, you can have this. I don't want it.
So
So
Travis actually tried the triple as well.
I guess, yeah, he was working on trying it. I wasn't out there at this time, but that's kind of what they said, that he was trying to do it as well at the same time. And he ended up just, that might have been what that helm was actually from or started from. But he just, every time he slapped the bag so hard, he would knock himself out. So he didn't want to do that anymore. But
Remember those M2R helmets that Travis rode for worn for a bit?
yeah, that was one Travis
That
thing that
was
I
one
never
thing
got
I
into.
couldn't I could never get on board with that one.
No, never did it. Never did. Always stuck with the Arai. I was a fan of the three piece, you know. But yeah, that was the story behind that deal. And this was actually like right after. Okay, so actually the first time he called me to do this, he was like, that ramp on the right is like a normal ramp, and then the one to the left is a front flip ramp. And neither one of them are lined up with the airbag, which I don't really know why. You would think that they would have cut that hole and actually thought about where they were going to line it up at and if it was going to be in the right spot. But that ramp is actually not even close to being lined up. And they tell a lot of people to go to the right. And they say go right, but you really don't, you can't see the airbag. You can't see anything up there. And so you're like, okay, go right. And Travis like, follow me off at the first time, but don't hit it. Just like stop at the bottom and I'll show you which way I go.
This is from the day
And
that you destroyed that bike.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I
By
just
not,
remember that.
yeah. So
Okay.
whenever you jump this, you have to like go all the way over there by that loose dirt on the left and cut into the right. Like you start at the bottom left of that ramp, like at the corner, and by the time you go off it, you hit the top right of it. It's terrifying thinking about going off something like that and not even lining up like you should. Um. Anyways, back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
I was going out there the first time because Travis knew that I like to whip. And he was like, dude, you got to come whip it off this jump. He's like, I want to see how big you can go off this ramp. And he showed me a video of Ashley Waskob, I think, going off of it. And the whip that he does it so big. And then there's like when you bring a whip back, if you bring it back and you still are not ready to land yet, like you come back and you end up like rotating the other way, like it's a gyro and it just goes back. And that's why oppos are really weird. Like you go up, and if you don't go big enough, you try to come back the other way, and then you go back. It's weird. But he did it, and the video's out there somewhere. But he whipped it, went super big, spun around, and then he goes like this and spins. It's just a weird motion that his bike does. And he's like, I want to see what you do. And I'm like, oh, so I'm gonna drive from Oklahoma to Maryland just so you can see me whip it off this thing? Okay, fine. So I did it, and I went there, and he knew that I'd never backflipped or front flipped or anything like that. And well, by the time the weekend was over, or when I was there, I didn't even hit that ramp on the right that wasn't a front flip ramp. I didn't want to try to whip it off that thing because I tried to jump straight off it that one time and I still missed it. And that ended up bad enough. So I really didn't want to whip it because I knew that I would definitely not hit the airbag. The airbag's like 30 feet wide, and it's still, whenever you're up that high, it seems like a little ant den, and you're just so scared that you're even going to hit it right or that you're going to make it on the airbag. So not only do you got to worry about jumping over it, you got to worry about jumping to the right of it, which is trees and a drop off, or to the left of it, like I did. I guess the best case scenario is what I did, because I didn't miss the bag, but my bike did. And I broke it up and had to get it all fixed up. And about 3 hours later, I went out and I front flipped it first try. So it was scary, but Travis has a way of doing that and making you think it's okay. Not that he like peer pressures you or whatever, but it's just like that place is its own world. It's like you go there and nothing else exists. Like you're there and there's no outside world. It's like that's the world. It's so weird. It's like a weird feeling you get, but you really kind of just have to shut a lot of things off in your brain whenever you go there, and just kind of just go with it and trust that he has an idea of what he's talking about, and he will lead you in the right direction, which most of the time he does. But yeah, it was fun, and I was glad to leave there alive every time that I've been there.
There you go. Like if Travis didn't get into moto, would you think he'd be good at sales?
He'd be good at everything he does. It doesn't even matter what he does; he's good at it. And if he's not good at it, he'll work until he is good at it. It's pretty amazing, just the amount of natural ability in whatever he does. He has. It's pretty cool. There's not a lot of people like that, so he's definitely a special character.
I do also respect the commitment to. I believe those are. I think that's a 90 front too. That's a wide front tire on Travis's bike. That's a Michelin. Who's that character?
That's Trey, man. We're having
that is a very young Trey Kennard. This is 2005. 04, 05. This is 05, I think this is 05. Yep. Second year for that's the steel framed Suzuka Kawasaki Franken bike. These were notorious for boiling over. And I believe, that's even a no fear helmet.
They ran those things, baby.
Yeah, he ran these. This is, I think, is this a 13 or a 14-year-old Trey?
13. He was born, let's see, he was born like 89. Yeah. So no, he's older than that. He's 16, I think.
Okay, sure. He mustn't have turned pro the year he was 16 then. Like he turned pro in the summer of 07.
Yeah. I think this was 05, and I'm pretty sure he was born in 89, September of 89. So he might have been 15, just turning 16 later that year. But yeah, this was at Cooperland, actually. We both rode the B class that year. And this was the Oklahoma State race. And this was on the pit bike track in the back. There was just a bunch of little bitty tabletops. And oh my gosh. My little girl has some serious oral action in her mouth.
Oh my!
Dude, where's the milk that goes to those things? Come on, killing me, dude. Hey, don't let all that dropping Oreos out of her mouth. Oh my!
10 to 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Doesn't she have preschool tomorrow?
Dude, yeah, she does. Hey, get off of me, please. Get off. I'm not gonna be happy with you if you don't.
Where's your mother?
Get off. Where's your mom? She needs to come rescue you, get you before I spank your butt. Brooke.
No, tell him.
Help me.
Tell him that.
Sorry.
Tell him the wrong thing.
It's all good, brother. This is real. This is raw.
This is real life. Hey, Brooke. She's coming. She's dropping Oreos all out of her mouth on my pants. Well, shoot, man.
Wait, no. No.
Oh, she got in trouble.
You got yelled at.
Mm-hmm. Mama came at her. You don't want me working at you.
I was gonna say you've probably dealt with that because you misbehave as well.
Yep, for sure. Anyways, this was before we rode the B class in 2005 at a Oklahoma State race. And yeah, Trey's always been a big goon rider, likes to have fun on the bike, and I do too. Actually, this was really at the start of my goon riding career. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just saw that they were just having fun. And really, whenever you goon ride, it's a whole different style of riding, because the things that you usually try not to do,
you're doing those things.
You do those things and you don't care. That's the good secret to goon riding. You don't have to like go out of your way to look silly. You just ride, and then all the things that you try not to do, you just let them happen. Yeah. And it looks so natural that way.
Like sitting into corners, putting your leg down towards rather than putting it out.
Yeah. And just everything that you try not to do, you do it. So that's I don't know if that's necessarily the case here on Trey's move, but I think he calls that the super dwindle or something, but I don't really know why. I just think that's his name for it for some reason. But
we might have to we might have to invite him onto this call in order for him to sort this thing out. Although I think he's 2 hours behind us. It's 8 p.m. California. But but yeah, I just wanted to include this because this is rather iconic, and I honestly I love the reoccurrence of no fear gear. This was a great time for moto gear. Late 2000s, early 2010s wasn't the best in the world, but this stuff wasn't bad.
Yeah, this stuff was way before its time for sure. No fear stuff was always so cool. It was McGrath inspired, just the cool stuff. So.
Yeah,
I was all about
it. And then I think this is the last one. This is shredding with Dad. You were number 2. Dad was number 6, I guess, if that makes sense.
I don't think I was number 2 on that. I think I was 365 on that one.
Oh I know, but just I'm sure prior to getting that number, this has got to be this is the same gear as you were running at Cooper's place there. You're both rocking the 3-piece helmet, both painted by your old man. Is he on a 4-stroke or is that a 125?
He's on a 125.
Holy crap!
That was his jam most of the time. He still tries to get me to look for him a 125. He's like, if you find a 125, I'm interested in it. I'm gonna get it. I'll pick it up if it's a good deal. It's like, look for me a deal. Like, okay, Dad. I really don't want him to ride, and I feel bad telling him that, but I don't think he needs to be on a bike. So.
How old's your dad?
Oh man, he's 71.
Oh geez, yeah. My dad's 65, and I think he's on the last couple of summers where I would feel comfortable with him throwing a leg over a dirt bike in any shape or form.
I think it's been a few years since he's ridden, but it was at Compound 77 down in southern Oklahoma, and there was this big step up, and he tried it. He was like 65 at the time, and he clipped it and just went over the bars, and he ended up like puncturing a lung and cutting all kinds of stuff internally, and it was bad news. But he was in the hospital for a while, and I figured after that I didn't think that he needed to ride much anymore. But he still thinks that he needs to be out there, so I don't know what he's thinking.
Fair enough. Well, this was 20 years ago, so he's in his mid 40s here, so he's very much vet class, but it looks like he's like, if you didn't know the person on the right, or I guess in your case in this was on the left, is in his 40s, you'd never know aside from they're quite skinny. What's that's a reasonable age to ride a dirt bike.
Yeah, for sure. No, he's definitely in good shape. He's still got a 6-pack, which being at 71 and still have a 6-pack, it's like he weighs probably 130 pounds. He's not normal, but I guess that's not a bad thing. So, but yeah, this place is where I was able to start riding. We had a bunch of land leased, and it was in western Oklahoma, and it was a bunch of mountains and plateaus and such like you see in the background. And whenever you got bored of riding the track my dad built, we would go climb hills and go build step ups and all kinds of fun stuff like that. The reason that I actually got to meet Travis was because of this place. He Kenny came out there all the time with us, and he was still pretty young whenever he started. But then he got to be good friends with Travis. And first time Travis ever came out there was right before he raced his first Supercross. So it was Christmas of '99. I'm pretty sure that's the first time I got to meet Travis.
Okay.
And he actually, at some point, or right around then, he wanted to actually buy a place out here and move out there, start a Supercross track, and all of his training was going to be out there. And then he got in trouble in Maryland for cutting down a bunch of trees, I think, or obstructing waterways or something. There was something he got in trouble with and got fined a whole lot of money. And so he didn't end up doing it, but he really had a lot of fun. He loved riding out here, and he wanted to build the track and kind of live out there and be away from everybody and train for Supercross, which really, now that you see in hindsight, like, that might not have helped his cause, because there was all kinds of stuff he could get in trouble on out here.
Yes.
But yeah, we had at least 3,500 acres out there, and there was so much fun stuff to do and so much cool stuff to ride. So my dad built a couple tracks, and that's where. All right, good night, babe. I love you.
That's not what they came to do.
All right, tell him good night. All right, love you.
Good night, Riley.
Hey, go to bed. So this is where I learned how to ride. And please,
That's cool, man. You must have had a lot of time here.
Yeah, for sure. But we only rode there in the winter, though, because in the summertime there was a lot of rattlesnakes out here, and they would be all over the place, honestly. The sand dunes there in Oklahoma are maybe 20 miles down the street or a little further from this, and they have the biggest rattlesnake roundup in the whole area at that place, from snakes that are caught out here at this mountain range every year. But they have a lot of big old snakes that come out of here, and we didn't want to get bit by one, so we didn't get to ride out there in the summertime when the snakes weren't in hibernation. So it was a wintertime thing. Actually, in the summertime, I didn't even get to ride for those 4 years. I started riding in '96, and I didn't ever ride another track until 2000.
Holy.
And I rode at this place, and my dad built jumps all the time, and we just did all kinds of stuff out there. I never rode a disc tilled up, like, loose dirt track with ruts for 4 years. So that's why I'm not very good at ruts still. I blame it on that. Not like I haven't ridden any since then, but I still just didn't grow up on them. I just grew up on hard packed and jumps. So that was kind of why it turned out, I believe, how I did. But,
I like it.
Yeah, it was a cool place, and I've been trying to get into real moto a couple years, or the last couple years they had it. I wanted to go out and do a real moto part there, because I think there would be some cool stuff that we could do. There was one jump that went all the way up one of those things, and nobody ever made it. Travis tried it, Kenny tried it, everybody tried it. But Travis even got on Kenny's YZ250 at one point, whenever he was like actually factory Suzuki.
Yeah.
He got on Kenny's YZ250. He's like, turn the cameras off. I want to go make this dude jump. And he still didn't make it, but he got close, just never made it.
That would be cool to see it. Travis Pastrana on early 2000s Yamaha. That's something that, if anyone has a disposable camera with that might be the most valuable photos in the sport. Sure. Your wrist you've been holding your phone the entire time, so you must have arm pump at this point. And but I appreciate you coming on, man. I told you we were gonna take longer than expected. An hour and a half, just under, I guess. By the time it took me to put all the photos together and whatnot, but this was a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to do this and pull some stories out, and there's a whole lot more to get to, so we'll definitely be at least a part 2.
Yeah, for sure. Glad we got to do this, and I'm sorry I am so long-winded whenever I talk about stuff. A lot of times I feel like it's probably stuff that you're just like, okay, shut up.
Oh, dude, people love this stuff. I eat this stuff up. Like if I'm the only person who listens to Big MX Radio, like I'm still loving it. So awesome. This was gold. I'm really glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, me too, for sure. I would like to someday get say Kevin or Travis or whoever it is, and have photos of of both of us, or things that could relate to both of us, and do it all kind of together ish.
Let's do one.
There will be stuff that they remember, or I remember that they don't, and just stories that come up that'd be pretty fun.
Absolutely. Hey, if that means you connect me with Travis goddamn Pastrana, and we do one of these, yeah, you're gonna have to twist my rubber arm, man. Don't threaten me with a good time. But looks like you probably got to get the little one off to bed. And for those who are listening to this or watching it, they've been watching it for damn near an hour and a half now. So that's awesome. Brett, this was great. Thanks for sharing the stories, and thanks for being the first official guest on Moto Albums.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, dude. Well, do not hang up just yet, but for podcast sake, we're gonna cut things off right there. Done.
Nice. Yeah, it was good.
What up, Riley?
Hey.
What up, girl?
He's known you since you was a baby.
No doubt.